Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another exciting sales success webinar. As always, my name is Alex Nichols, and I'm here with the sales success team. Starting off, of course, with our senior director, Tim Rowan. Tim, where are you located at? You're a bit fuzzy.
Yeah, and you know what? I am fuzzy, and it's because I'm again in a hotel room. The good news is unlike the last webinar, I'm not going to try and navigate it from a vendor area at a conference because it's awfully noisy. But I'm in Florida to answer the question. I'm at another partner sales rally currently in Florida, and from what I understand, I'm better off just staying inside because it's very hot and humid out there today.
Yeah, I visited Florida and it was an incredible time, but I could not stand the humidity myself. More power to the people that live there. It's beautiful there. There's a lot to do, but I live in the desert and I can only stand the desert.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, um, we got some fun things to talk about today, don't we?
That is correct, folks. So today, what we're really going to be focused on is we are going to be focused on getting your borrowers through the application funnel. Now, this is going to be a little bit specific when it comes to this, right? This is a topic we visited maybe once or twice when it comes to certain parts of the application. But what this is more about is coaching your borrowers. And really, what it is setting the right expectations because there's points in the application where they can be halted, where complications can arise. And so we really want to dive into some real big specifics. We want to dive into some areas of the application that you should know about, that you should talk to your borrower about. And I want to talk to you about some things we don't normally talk about. I want to talk about some parts of the application, some areas where I want to give you some tips and some things of that nature. Because this is something, we're constantly out there helping people. Scott's on calls every day, Mike's on calls, answering emails, right? Tim's traveling across the world. This is something where we hear these kind of conversations from LOs going, hey, this happened to my borrower, and then suddenly it took like 5 days to resolve. Well, let's talk about these things that can happen because sometimes it could be a really quick application, or sometimes it could be a bit slower. And when it's slow, it could have been resolved ahead of time by setting your borrower up for success by coaching them to the finish line, as I call it.
Yeah. So I love this topic, and of course, it's very top of mind for all of us, and probably most of the attendees on the call as well. It's interesting because even the sales rally that I'm at currently, and everyone's got slightly different business models, right? So we can't always have a webinar and cover every base, but it is interesting to me how many loan originators that I've just spoke with here in the last couple of days that actually have no feel for logging into the lead portal and managing their pipeline. And it's very, very interesting to me. So, Alex, you don't have to do it this minute, but I do want to revisit that real quick regarding how to get into the details and quite quickly look at some of this. But I do want to share a story and also remind everybody of a little bit of excitement. You know, Mike, a couple weeks ago, we added a new feature when it comes to income verification. Do you remember what that is?
Is that the business income
That's right.
verification that we can do? Business bank accounts, right?
That's right. And I throw Mike on the spot here because it's kind of funny. Mike and I were together. I don't know, last week, the week before. I lose track anymore. But um, Mike, you made a very interesting comment. You said in my time here, which has now been what, about 6 weeks, 2
6 weeks. Yep.
months, 6 weeks. Okay. So Mike said, in my first 6 weeks here, we've added this, we've added this, we've added this. And it dawned on me, I'm like, holy smokes, we actually continue to expand and add and add and add. And it's just like overwhelming. But one of the biggest of which that we added, but we've also quickly learned some things, which is what led us to this topic today. And that is to remind everybody, historically, we never had the ability to have a borrower link to business bank accounts. It was only linking to personal bank accounts. Now, for the most part, wage earner borrowers linking to personal bank accounts, that's the smoothest, fastest path always. It's usually no harm, no foul, no issues. Where we ran into issues historically was if you had that self-employed borrower or that borrower that uses business bank accounts, and at the time there was nothing we could do. Well, now we can. So I want to share kind of some tips here, if you will, some things that we've learned. We were working with a loan originator last week who had a borrower, self-employed, personal and business bank accounts. Not a problem. They log in, they link to their business bank accounts. Okay, cool. However, the borrower did not stop or slow down long enough to realize that at the bottom of that same page, or after they verified their income and their business accounts, another page pops up and it gives the borrower the ability to add additional accounts for where they want the funds dispersed to and where they want the payments made from. And we're going to show this in a second, and I want to be very clear about this. This is not adding an additional account for the purpose of verifying income. That already happened. We verified income with their business accounts. Full transparency here, here's the downside of what happened. The borrower used the chat function, called in, and our customer service team simply said, well, we'll have to restart the file. It's too late. You've gone too far. We can't add any more accounts. Well, the borrower restarted the file. No harm, no foul. But guess what? Ran into the exact same thing again and had to restart the file again. And what dawned on us here is that the borrower's true concern wasn't being addressed. And this happens not just at our Figure customer service level. This happens also, it's very important for the LO, all of you, to understand what is the actual question or objective the borrower is trying to get accomplished, and having enough knowledge to advise the borrower as to when they get to a certain screen, do this, right? So they wasted, I'll actually say the term wasted, 3 days restarting a file, still not getting the borrower to understand what was happening there. Myself and the LO became engaged at that point on a call, and it dawned on me what the borrower is really trying to do. And this is actually a real win for everybody. The LO ran a new inquiry, sent it to the borrower, included the link to the borrower workflow video, which Alex, you're very familiar with this. Hopefully my whole team is here. And told the borrower, be sure to look at this video at 2 minutes and 11 seconds. And by the way, that might actually be accurate. Alex, I'm just pulling up, but that might actually be accurate. If so, I'm going to be really impressed. The LO started a new inquiry, educated and advised the borrower as to that path, as to where they could set up the disbursement and payment account. It was an investment property. He did the inquiry. He did the inquiry at 11 o'clock in the morning, and the loan was funded before 5 o'clock the same day, because there's no rescission on investment property. This file could have gone that fast the week before had the loan originator and our customer service team actually been able to identify what the borrower was really looking to get accomplished. Does that make sense, team, the way I said that?
Yes, and it was 3 minutes and 12 seconds. So
okay,
I don't know if you
so
were
I
really
was off
close
by
or
a
way
minute.
off. I want to show this visually, right, what Tim's talking about here. If you go into the resource center, there is going to be that consumer application video. This is something where you can, again, review it yourself here. However, I do want to point this out. There is a download button here at the bottom right. So you can download that to Tim's point and send it over to your borrower. Keep in mind, there is a link option, so you can directly send it to an individual. However, they have to have lead portal access, so it's really only for LOs or like admins. So I would say download it. It's small enough. It should fit in an email. And we're actually working on a new version, interestingly enough. Tim, I don't know if you know that, but this is something where we're going to keep improving this video, again, because it's consumer facing. We want the best for your consumer. So look for that soon.
Awesome. So I don't know, on that video, by the way, Alex and I coined the phrase probably roughly a year ago that we would refer to using that video at point of sale as being a power user type concept, right? So even ahead of sending your borrower their offer, you could send them a link to that video and say, hey, just so you know, we're going to be sending you a link for your offer. However, before you click on that, take 3 minutes and watch this video, and it will help set the expectation of the borrower. And again, I've been using the term expectation ad nauseum over the last several months. So it's really, really important. And I've said some stuff here. I've said our customer service didn't acknowledge or really identify what the borrower is looking at in that scenario. And as well, the loan officer had zero feel for what the borrower was actually going through. So I want to make sure to drive that point home, not just on the income verification stage, but really identify where a borrower's at in the process, understand what they're actually asking or trying to get accomplished, and then have the knowledge, or at least know where to go and refer to the knowledge to get that information. And Alex, What do we have in the lead portal now?
We have all the information you'd ever need. That's going to be my answer. So
Well,
go.
it's in the resource center, right? And it's
going to be in the resource center there for you. And I do want to point out one thing I did want to show, and this is what Tim was alluding to, right? You are going to have full details of your files. You are going to have the status of these files, right, that you can review. But to Tim's point, there is a copy borrower link button here. So this is something, for those with referral links or for those, doing the inquiry, you copy the borrower link. This is what you can do. You can copy the borrower link. You can send out an email. You can, include information. And then again, use the resource center in there for all of the information that you need to review. If you're looking at the details of a file, if you're looking at the status, if you need to know what's going on with the file, it's all documented in there, right? That's all written by me. So hopefully I've included everything. If not, yell at me.
so Alex, the author.
Alex, the author, poet, scholar.
Any other tips and tricks that you can think of when just before I continue on, Mike, Alex, Scott?
Yeah, absolutely. Have your borrower have their passwords and user IDs ready if they're connecting to their bank accounts. That's probably one of the most important things. It'll speed things right along.
I love that. Mike, anything come to top of mind for you?
Yeah, have your borrowers utilize the chat function that's available to them. We do have a phone line that they can call in, but depending on what time they call, that wait time can get a little long. Your borrowers have access to a chat function that is staffed by live agents. It's not AI or anything like that. Those are real people working that chat. And the turn time for that, they can get in touch with somebody within just like a 2 or 3 minutes max. Set that expectation with your borrower. That is the fastest way to get a hold of somebody with a little bit of help there.
Yeah, love it. And of course, all of that comes down to setting the right expectations. Scott, what you said about making sure to have a conversation with the borrower as to their best path to verify income, and then have them be prepared to do that. Mike, same thing. Should a borrower run into any snags, always refer the borrower to start first with the chat function. All of that ties right back into setting the right expectation. It's interesting. As you know, I travel a lot, and especially lately. Hey, you think they get me my own plane? What do you think, Alex?
Air T row, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. I kind of like the ring of it. Anyway, I have a lot of different conversations, and it interests me that sometimes we think as loan originators, well, I'm going to run an inquiry. Well, it didn't work. I'm going to run an inquiry. It didn't work. I'm going to run an inquiry, and it didn't work. And all of a sudden the sky is falling, and oh my gosh, your system doesn't work. And okay, time out. I want to encourage everybody that's ever gone down this thought path, hang tight just a minute, because let me say it like this. Is there a lender that has a loan for every homeowner in the country? Scott, what do you think?
That would be a no.
He says that would be a no. Why do I bring that up? I bring it up because it's important to have the right perspective and, again, control the narrative again with your borrower. However, is there anybody on this call, Alex, Mike, Scott, do you believe there's anyone faster at getting a yes or no than our inquiry tool?
Not at all. That's the power of automation.
Yeah. So I just like to remind everybody, use that inquiry tool, assuming the data is accurate, that even if you don't get offers, that's all good. Why would I say that? Because it took you 2 minutes or less of your day to get to that point. You now have a credit score. You now have an AVM giving you an idea of value. Shift gears, come up with a different strategy. Have Scott, I think you say it this way, have a plan B, right? What is your off ramp?
Exactly. You always want to have a plan B in case you don't get an offer. And you'll know exactly why you don't have an offer. Just look into the resource center. Well, first look to the details on the right-hand side. It'll tell you why. And if you need further explanation, Alex put it in the resource center for decline reasons and no offer reasons. So you got everything at your fingertips.
Yeah, and it really is true. And by the way, that's those things, those enhancements, such as business bank accounts, the enhancements of the resource center, those types of pieces, they're all the result, truthfully, they are all the result of our partners reaching out and asking and saying, hey, we'd love it if you could do this, or we'd sure love to have the resources here. Have you ever thought of adding business accounts? All of those type of things. By the way, big news, we're also launching DSCR. And for our wholesale partners, I think we'll have this live by December. There's some different hoops we have to jump through there. And our retail partners, we are onboarding them currently into DSCR. So if any of you happen to be on this call and want to have that conversation, we'll connect you with the right folks. So constantly improving, constantly enhancing, constantly expanding on this. And really it comes down to you ask, we're listening as best we can. Sometimes it takes us a little longer to get there, but hey, listen real quick. I want to back up in time. On the business bank accounts, this is just my opinion, and I'll appreciate any feedback here from what our team's learned so far in the first 2-3 weeks of business bank accounts. I want to advise everyone that even if you know your borrower is going to get their income verified with business bank accounts, regardless, still advise the borrower to link their personal and then link their business. Does that logic sound right?
Correct.
Yeah, and so I want to explain to everybody, here's why. And it really comes down to the situation we helped Anello with last week, the story I told you guys. If that borrower had linked to their personal and then linked to their business, when they were taken to the page to choose the bank account for disbursements and payments, that account would have already been listed. They wouldn't need to add an additional. You see what I mean? But because the borrower is only linking to business, we didn't know what account to link to for his disbursement and payment account. So then he would have had to add the additional. See what I mean? And Alex, I don't know if you have a screenshot of that or not.
I was just going to say, this actually goes into a fantastic demo that I wanted to show you all. And one of the things I wanted to talk about on today's session. So let's talk about Tim's point here. You have a borrower, and here we go. We're taking a look at my screen here. They are on income verification. Now, first and foremost, let's talk about Mike's point. There is a chat button at the bottom right. And I did see there was a question in chat. That chat is white labeled for our white label partners. So keep in mind, every single person should be using chat, in my opinion. Quickest response time, you can attach documents, as well as the agents can screen share with your borrowers, which is kind of nice. Now, to Scott's point, borrowers should already have their username and passwords ready, right? I know mine up top of my head, right? But if a borrower doesn't, this is something where you should pre-prepare them. You should tell them, hey, have these accounts ready. And to Tim's point, we're going to do personal first, and then we're going to do business. Reason being, if we can verify enough income on personal, we don't need business. In fact, it's easier to link personal just because there's an extra step on business. And what a lot of people don't know, there's a misconception here, right? We don't always need to verify the full stated income. It just depends on their DTI thresholds. So, for example, it says 200,000 here. That's how much I put in as the stated total income for my borrower. Doesn't mean they need to verify $200,000. That just means how much I put in. What's going to happen is on the back end, that underwriter is going to run. It's going to check. It's going to run that underwriting constantly, looking at DTI. And if I verify enough, I verify enough. It'll have me move on. So let's say, for example, I'm Carlos. I'm the borrower, right? We can see this handsome loan officer contact card here on the right-hand side. I'm going to go ahead and connect my bank account. So I'm going to go ahead and hit connect. That goes through Plaid. I can connect any account I want to. I'm going to do Wells Fargo. You can judge me all you want for it. And then once we hit continue to log in, I'm going to put in my username and password for my online accounts. Now, a couple things about this. Number one, a little pop-up window. This pop-up window is literally them logging into their bank, meaning we do not see their username and password. We do not save it. Neither does Plaid. They're literally logging into their banking institution to then give Plaid access to verify. Second point, they can link as many accounts as they want when it comes to bank accounts, right? So if they have a Wells Fargo account, a Chase account, this account, that account, that's fine, right? And they'll stack, which is fun. So we'll go continue to log in. Let's just pretend I logged it into my Wells Fargo account, right? I'm not going to show you my Wells Fargo information, but let's say I do so. Well, now we're going to see all this. And what it's going to ask is it's going to ask us to give permission to Plaid to verify account balance, account information, routing, all of that. And great, go ahead. We linked it up. we're good to go. Now, with this, this is a business account that I linked. So it's saying, hey, we're going to connect a business account. So because I didn't connect a personal account, right, I got to do it the slow way. If I would have connected personal accounts and business accounts, because I can do that, it'll take the personal first. And if it verifies enough, they won't have to do anything with their business. I want to stress that. But in this case, we're going to need to verify this business account by clicking this add info button. And I just want to stress that with your borrowers, right? This is something where it's saying, hey, in order to link this up, we're going to need to add more information here. Now, a couple things to note on this. Number one, well, they verified enough income already. This is something where I verified personal income on the back end, right? 200 out of 220,000. So if you're wondering why you see that, well, when I was running this test account, I connected a personal account, right? So I want to stress that this is just giving me the option to link that business account. So to link and verify income via a business account, we are going to need to select how we file our taxes, our business tax returns. Now, if they know their industry code, they can just put it in really quickly, right? I know my code, pop it in. Otherwise, they can just say what it is, 1040, 1065, et cetera, being S Corp. So this is something where they can manually type it in. Let's say sole proprietorship. I'll just say real estate. And then let's say industry real estate property manager. So you can see there's other choices. What this is doing is it's telling our system how to do the calculations. Now, I'm not going to share those calculations to you. Why? Well, because they weren't shared to me, nor Tim, nor really anyone, right?
Yeah, they won't give to us. That's right.
So this is something where, again, guide your borrower by telling them, hey, if you're going to link a business account, it'll just ask you how to do those tax returns, but make it clear, we're not verifying their taxes. That's a completely different method I'm not talking about. Now that that's verified, they're good to go. We're going to move on in this process. There's a little extra 20,000 missing somewhere. Now, this is what I wanted to talk about, and this is going back to Tim's
There's the
point.
page right there. Yeah, that's the one.
Exactly. And this is where this is going to cause a lot of headaches for your borrowers, and I want to stress this. Now that business bank account linkage is coming out, we're learning a few things. They can link their accounts for disbursement, meaning where the money is going into. And depending on what they link during income verification, it's going to show you all this. Well, I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit. When I make these demos, I got to splice together a lot of information. So I've linked up a Chase account and some Wells Fargo accounts, a regular old personal checking account and a cash management account. So for your borrower, they can say where they want the money to go into. They select one. If they select a business account, it is a pain. This is something where we're going to have to verify ownership of the LLC. Sometimes it can be incredibly difficult depending on how they have that set up. And here's the big kicker. This is the big takeaway. They can't change this at all. They would have to cancel the application and start over. I think it's a modify and restart. No, it's actually cancel. It depends on the stage. Anyway, point is, here specifically, what's going to happen is they're going to select it and it's going to be locked in. So you need to tell them, one, be specific about it, but also, really, they should do a personal account. Reason being, it's automatically going to verify their names on there. All the security checks are going to be golden, especially when they go through Plaid. Now, one other thing I want to tell you all. If they do connect account here, they can connect another account via Plaid. However, this is something where they can also put in an account and routing number. This is a fail-safe in case, their bank account isn't on Plaid, which can happen. That's fine, like a credit union or something, right? However, if they put in the account and routing number, we are going to ask for their bank statement because we need to verify account ownership. This can take 2 business days for our team to process once it is actually sent in. So it can take even longer than that for our team to identify this, for us to make the request, for the borrower to get it, for the borrower to send it in, for our team to verify. So what I'm saying to you, the path of least resistance, the easiest way is for the borrower to link a personal checking via Plaid. It is almost instantaneous, takes 30 seconds for them to do, and it'll verify their ownership and they'll move on. If they do a business account, we're going to have to verify their ownership and it can be difficult. If they connect it manually using an account routing number, we're going to ask for a bank statement to verify ownership. Can be difficult. So tell them when they select their disbursement account, make sure it's their personal account. Make sure it goes through Plaid, right? And that's just the way it's going to go to make it easy. Because a lot of times what will happen is a borrower goes, you know what, I don't want to give Plaid my permission or, my account info. I'll just put in an account routing number. Great. But then suddenly, it takes up to 5 days because we're going to have to request the bank statement and they have to get it and it's the whole thing. I think that was about what you were talking about there, Tim.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And listen, we have a lot of users in our portal, and so we hear the good and we also hear the not so good. And I will tell you that some of our power users, if you will, assuming the borrower is up for it, sometimes they will go on and do a screen share, a Zoom call, no different than what we're doing here on this webinar. And they will have the borrower share their screen and they will help walk the borrower through step by step. However, you don't have to do that. It's just, again, set the right expectation of the borrower. And I used this phrase with the loan originator probably a year ago here, and they really appreciated it. So I'm going to share it with you all now. And that is, I want you to think about slowing down in order to speed up. Because ourselves as loan originators and our homeowner clients as well, sometimes, honestly, they're rocking and rolling. They're going through it real fast. Sometimes they need to slow down in order to speed up. Because as most everyone on this call knows, that if there's an error, there's no going backwards in time, right? We have a modify restart, we have a cancel and reapply, two different paths. One's a little easier than the other, but there's no getting around. So just make sure to help and set that expectation. There's that word again, both for yourself and the borrower. So I think we have probably a bunch of questions. Actually, Jose has raised his hand. And I don't know, I think in the past when we've done that, Alex, they end up being on the call forever, but let's bring Jose on. See if Mr.
Jose, you are
Sanchez.
on the line.
What's up, Mr. Sanchez?
Sorry, that was I bet him by accident.
No
Oh,
worries
see,
at
now you're part of the crew. Jose, I mean, come on, man.
Right?
Yeah.
Actually, I do have a question. Is this going to be recorded? This deck is it going to be recorded for?
It is.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, we record
Yes.
and everybody will, Alex will send out an email recapping and sending a link to the recording as well.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
you
And
got it.
all the recordings are on our YouTube channel. I'll send out a link to our YouTube. Subscribe to never miss a video and all that. But yeah, that'll be on there.
And Mike, how are we doing on questions? Mike's like my Ed Sullivan. By the way, probably a lot of you guys don't even know who that is.
No, sure. We have a question from Brian Beal, who, if this is cross country, Brian Beal, what's up, buddy? So he has a question: what's the best thing to say when a customer says they're uneasy linking the bank accounts through Plaid? Either whether to verify their funds or to disperse the funds.
I love this question, and Alex touched on it a little bit ago, and that is, it is really important to note that we never see, keep, retain, know at any level ever their bank login information. That is going through Plaid, and that is the exact same system that they already use with their current bank accounts for things such as Venmo, Zelle. That is the preferred system, and we don't retain any of that. We don't have anything. So very, very secure environment. So I guess that would be
It's more secure than emailing your bank statements to me and then me emailing it to an underwriter who's going to email it to an investor. Yeah, it's the safest way. That's it.
Yeah. By the way, we have had that come up. And Brian, if it is that Brian Beal with CCM, do we know?
Yes. Well, I don't know.
Is he here in Orlando?
Yeah.
Is he downstairs for me right now?
He's a Springfield guy. Yeah. All right. So someone does know. Connie knows who Ed Sullivan is. So that's.
Oh, okay.
Good.
If a client deposits, Victoria asks, if my client deposits most of his self-employed income in a personal account, will Figure calculate properly?
Well, it's going to depend on how that deposit comes over to the personal account. And Alex, you may have some more in depth in this, but if it shows up as a cash deposit, I don't know. The system may not pick that up. The other concern I would have there is it's important to understand that really what the system is looking for is a source of deposit and the cadence and amount of said deposits. In other words, this regularity, right, of deposits coming in. And if they're transferring funds from, let's say, a business account into their personal, well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, well, they might transfer this much on the 5th, they might transfer this much on the 15th, they might transfer this much, and it might look totally different the following month. And that would be my concern there. Does that sound like on the right track there, Alex?
Yes, it has to be regular deposits for these accounts. I've seen it happen before if they were regular deposits. The example I always give is a husband and wife. We were helping. The husband was a W-2 earner, the wife was a hairdresser. They tried to connect a joint checking account. It took the husband's income because he got regular deposits, right, from work. But she did like cash here, Venmo here, right? However, their client paid. It was irregular, so it didn't pick it up. So what did they do? They linked up their tax account, an IRS.gov account. Joint taxes verified in what, a minute, however long it took. So just keep in mind, this is something where there's a common misconception, I feel, amongst LOs with our product. The different methods of income verification, they don't stack, but we're going to take the highest out of what's linked, right? And that's what's really important. So if your borrower gets that, just have them link their personal account. There's no harm, no foul. Worst case scenario doesn't work. Okay, well then they can link like a tax account, let's say, or a business account if they have it. We'll take the highest. So that is something in there. And again, bank accounts stack. They can do multiple personal business accounts. Like that's all one method. Taxes another. Payroll, asset, right? So really, no harm, no foul there. Don't be afraid to try.
Yeah, it's a great point. And to just further drive that home a little bit is, let's say one borrower uploads their pay stubs and the other borrower links to their bank accounts. Those two numbers will not stack. The source of income has to be the same. So if a borrower uploads pay stubs, well, then the other borrower needs to upload pay stubs, or the other additional signer needs to upload pay stubs as well. You see what I mean? Or bank accounts, you can link as many accounts as you want, but the source of the income verification has to be the same. And it is true that a borrower could use every single income verification method we have, and our system will automatically use whatever's highest, which is unlike the traditional lending world, by the way. Right, Scott? You know those times all too well.
Once I see it, I can't forget it.
That's the normal world, right? Yeah.
All right, so we have a question. My borrower has a first and a second, which is a DPA. Score is 677, DTI over 50. But if you can select to pay off all the accounts, including the second, they'll meet the requirements, but didn't have that option since they didn't get an offer. So the borrower will need to pay, the borrower will need to meet requirements first before having the option to pay off the accounts.
This is actually a very interesting scenario. And again, being fully transparent, it's one, in fact, Mike, and I know you and I have personally been dealing with this for a little bit and taking the feedback, by the way. So just know there's an aspect of this that we're working on. So first and foremost, what I want to make sure of is that when you, the loan originator, ran the inquiry, that you were not, I want to confirm that you were not taken to what we will call a win back screen. In other words, you didn't have any offers, but a screen pops up giving you the ability to choose that second to pay off. My assumption is that did not happen for you. I'm told that it should happen, but I'm seeing more and more that it's not.
They say that's correct, yes.
Okay, so it is true that if there was an offer, you then will be shown the ability to pay off debts by clicking in the debt, the IntelliDebt section, the Get Started button, and then you can go there. So just out of curiosity, and we're going to kind of play deal doctor here for a minute, and then Alex, you're going to throw stuff at me. So how far off is the DTI right now today? Or is it not a DTI thing? Is it a CLTV thing? In other words, will it not give an offer in third lien position? Is that what's happening, or is it just solely DTI?
Will not give an offer because of the score / LTV.
And My guess is that's probably coming down to third lien position. There's probably not enough equity to get an offer in third lien. So, side note, whoever's asking that question, I'm sorry, I'm not seeing it on my end. Can you send, and Mike, keep an eye open for this, can you please send this app ID number to the salessuccess@figure.com email? Now, do we have a solution for it? Honestly, right now, today, probably not. Do I need to get this up in front of the engineers along with a handful of others? Yes. I'm keeping a track. Like, folks, we got to dive in and correct some of our logic here. And by the way, we've already made one big enhancement, but clearly there's some other work we need to do here.
Okay. The Connect account that you just went through and can enter manually, the account and routing is this just for disbursement, or can be used to verify income for a bank that is not compatible with Plaid?
Just for disbursement when you're entering in, that's for disbursement and payments. There is not a way to manually add
And I want to be
accounts for
clear
income.
on that too, right? Is because we do not have underwriters. So when I say we're going to request a bank statement, it is to say their name is on this account, right? So we are sending money to the right person. We take fraud very highly, and so we want to verify that. So really important distinction in my mind. And again, try to use Plaid everywhere. It is, to me, just a fail-safe, because I've personally had borrowers in the past who have had small credit unions that are not on Plaid's list. At least they weren't a couple of years ago. So it is something that give them an option to send the money somewhere, because again, we don't do checks or anything. Oh yeah, and Victoria does ask in here, right? She was saying, hey, real estate agent, mostly 1099, so irregular deposits. Yeah, real estate agents, I've helped a few in the past myself. That's where it can get tricky. Here's the fun bit, right? With self-employed individuals, they actually have their own specific like calcs in our system when it comes to tax verification. So as long as this individual has not filed an extension on their taxes, self-employed individuals can verify that way instead, as well as self-employed individuals have the option to do the last 2 years instead of the most recent one. If maybe that works out better for them. They don't have to, but it is an option. So real estate agents, again, it can get tricky, but again, I'd recommend just have them link their bank account anyway. Again, they don't always need to verify full stated income. So I've actually done this before with borrowers in the past where they've raised this huge issue where they've had all these questions and we've gone back and forth and spent all this time, and they linked up their bank account where they were like, saying, no, this isn't going to work. And it verified enough and the system just had to move on. So, not every time, obviously, but it is something where just at least rule it out as an option by linking it up and then go from there to taxes. And if not, that's where it gets a bit tricky. Sometimes we can't verify income. I'm going to be honest with you. It just depends.
And it happens.
I have a couple who would like a HELOC. Issue is the husband. This is a good question. The husband is the income producer. Credit's not that great. Wife has excellent credit. Can I do the application under the wife only since she is I'm not sure what that, but basically, can we do an income on the wife even though, I'm sorry, let me back up. Can we do an application for the wife even though she's not the income producer?
Yes. So here's the deal. In community property or homestead states, we can include the spouse's income. And I want to stress that our product offers no co-borrowers. And so this is something that, again, a misconception I hear a lot. This is something where you need to check with the state. There's a resource center with its documents, and I'm actually pulling the state list up right now. As you can tell, I'm looking off to the sidebar here. So and I'll put it in the chat here, if it is a community property or homestead state, oh, I see Mike was already doing it. Thank you, Mike.
Alex,
We
where
can
do I
include the spousal
find
income.
the states, Alex?
Yeah.
Where can I find them?
That is going to be in the resource center on Lead Portal. If you go to the resource
Oh.
center, there is in multiple locations. There's an income verification folder I have for all my income verification documents, as well as I have it in the product guide because I find it's important. But what's such a good point about this question is because we are only going to pull credit against the primary borrower, meaning what you can do, you run an inquiry for that primary, right? They have better credit, but you're including both of their income, them and their spouse. So it's a very good qualifier tool. Just make sure it's in a state where that's allowed. Otherwise, if it's not a state where it's allowed, it's just the one borrower, unfortunately.
And that's actually, yeah, right. But that spousal income is huge opportunity there, depending on the state. Most of them are, by the way, but I think there's a handful that are not. Is it 13 of them that are not? I can't remember. Mike
13
posted
or-
a list.
Yeah, it's
Definitely.
like 13 or 14, something like
Yeah,
that.
14.
Definitely fall into the resource drive for that as the resource center, excuse me.
6,
in lead portal
7, 6, 7.
110, 220.
God, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm gonna leave
I'm
now.
logging off the call.
Oh, it's late in the week, isn't it?
As the dad of an 11-year-old, I am.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, how many months does Figure look back on bank statements for calculating income? If a customer started a new job with more income about 2 months ago, is that an issue?
That is not an issue. And in fact, I'll give you some advice on there. So we're going to look at a minimum of 180 days when it comes to like linking bank accounts. We're going to do an annualization. And so what it will do is it'll look up to a max of 12 months. This can be a little bit tricky, right? If so, say like you have a borrower who started a new job, higher income, right? What it'll do is it'll look at those bank accounts and it's going to be looking at the income annualized out 12 months. All right. Here's my tip for you. They started a new job and they get pay stubs, they can actually upload their most recent pay stub. Now, the downside to that is it takes up to 2 business days for that to process because that's got to go over to the ops team. A real human's got to look at that, right? But what they'll do is they'll put in that income and that'll be used solely for annualization outside their bank account. Meaning, right, someone starts a new job, it makes a lot more money. Well, we just need their most recent pay stub. So if they literally just started it, that's fine. Otherwise, and again, this goes back to my previous point. I would first have them link their bank account because it takes a minute or two. If that doesn't verify enough, then they can upload their pay stub. And again, we'll take the higher of the two. So is what it is.
I absolutely love the question. And Alex, I love your response. And again, this just drives the point home further to the power of the right questions of your borrowers. How do they get paid? What is their job scenario? All that. And then set the expectation of the borrower as to their best path for verifying the income that you've discussed with them. And Alex, what you just said about pay stubs is huge because we're going to go off of that pay stub now as their income, correct? And not annualize like we would from linking to bank accounts situation.
Look, even if you don't know the answer, it's setting expectations. Let's go back to that. I have a way. I'll just send you a link. You have 4 ways to verify your income at irs.gov through a payroll service. So we're uploading the pay stub. We'll find out in the next day or two if it works. If not, I got a plan B for you. That's the answer, flat out.
There's our guy, Scott. Here he comes in hot. I love it. Scott I love it, man. That's the net of it. What else we got, Michael?
Michael.
You're muted or something.
Oh, yep. Do they look at gross income on tax returns when linking to irs.gov?
What are those calculations, Tim?
Oh, it's quite a bit into those calculations, but yes, is the answer.
And back to the spousal income. If only one person can apply, how do we use dual income?
You're going to put it in as a combined total for the spousal income. So just keep that in mind that it's going to be something where you'll put it in, if you're doing the inquiry, in the actual annual income amount, just include their spouse's income, then they can verify it later.
I was told you need a 680 FICO to pay off debt. Is that true?
Oh, that is actually, I'm sorry, Alex, that is not actually completely accurate. There is some truth to it. And so here's the rule. You can pay off debt as much as you want that's eligible to pay off. However, you're only going to get DTI lift or DTI credit on revolving accounts if you have a 680 or higher. So you can still pay off those credit cards with a 670. However, you're not going to get an improvement of your DTI as a result, unless you have 680 or higher.
Do you allow a new HELOC to pay off an existing second? Also, can it be one loan that will pay off the first and the second?
Only the most junior lien will be eligible for payoff. And we've improved this path a lot, but it is still possible, just again to set the right expectation, that it may not show up as eligible to pay off for any number of different reasons. But you'll know right at point of inquiry when you look at the debt payoff screen if it's there and eligible. And again, it's the most junior lien. So if someone only had a first mortgage and it was eligible to pay off, you could do that and replace it with our product in first lien position, and second and or third, whatever's the most junior lien position on the property.
I have a current deal. It's about to expire. I cannot tell from the details what else is needed from the borrower. Who do I contact that says there are no conditions? You can send an email to salessuccess@figure.com. We can take a look at it for you.
And you can also touch base with your borrower and ask them if they are in the know. They oftentimes will get communications that maybe some of us don't. However, if they're not, have them use the chat, and in about 2 minutes, they'll have the question answered for them.
When you link the business tax returns, are they only looking at profit or gross income and using the NAICS code equation against the gross?
Okay, let me think about this question. Are you, rephrase that again, Mike. Are they talking about linking to tax transcripts or business bank accounts?
It looks like tax returns. So business tax returns. So I guess tax transcripts.
So tax transcripts, this is kind of business as usual in the industry, right? Especially like a Schedule C. We're going to use taxable income. We're not going to use a gross dollar on self-employed tax returns. We're going to use a taxable income number.
Okay. Will purchases be an option?
Oh, gosh, yes, someday. How's that? We've already started the conversations. By the way, I'll just share with you kind of the struggle, what we're trying to get resolution for. As anybody who ever's used our system before knows, we do not have escrow. We don't have an escrow in which handles the disbursement of funds both to a seller or buyer or to a real estate agent. And so there's a lot of moving pieces there when it comes to a purchase transaction. Ideally, we'll get there, but not tomorrow.
What is the underlying rule for NSF fees? So like none of the last 6 or 12 months, I had a loan denied at the income verification stage. I looked up the error code on the resource page and it referred to an NSF charge.
By the way, congratulations. And I love the fact that you looked up the decline code reasons in the resource center. So nicely done. And Alex, do you have any more feedback on the NSF projects?
I don't, to be honest with you, and that's actually kind of a bit surprising to me. Let
I
me,
want to say 6 or more. I don't know. It's been a
yeah,
while.
let me do some digging here in a second.
It also comes down to FICO score too. The rules change
Yeah.
based on FICO and LTV. So, we might have to dig in the weeds on that one, Alex.
Okay.
Okay. Could you repeat what you said about using the credit score for the borrower with the highest credit score and the income from the borrower who brings in the income? So basically, one applicant, 2 income, or I guess one main income earner
Okay.
versus the credit scores.
Here's the scenario. And I'll pick on myself here for a second as the example. It's not true, but nonetheless, here we go. So I earn the majority of the income on our household, but I have a 640 credit score. Okay. My wife has an 800 credit score and she earns very little or maybe no income. And I'm going to come back to this here in a second. You could, in a community property in Homestead State, you could have the spouse, the wife in this case, be the borrower and still use both incomes combined. Okay. Now, I said I was going to come back to something. It is important to note that we won't actually do a loan for somebody who indicates they're unemployed. I know, shocking. But if that's the scenario, you'd want to make sure to have a conversation with that borrower. What is their employment status? Are they retired, as possibly an example? You know what I mean? Or something of that. But you wouldn't want them to select unemployed, because then you're not going to get any offers.
Don't confuse spousal income with household income,
For sure.
Which is a common mistake.
Yep, has to be spousal and has to be in community property and homestead states for sure.
I have a customer that wants to get a figure loan on 2 properties, his primary and his second home, to purchase a third home. Is this doable? Also, is the
It
max
is.
amount 750, which is yes.
Max amount is 750 on primary residence. Alex, what's our loan cap on second or investment? Will we still do 750 on those?
No, you're
We
limited
want-
to 750 total for all loans. And then there would be a 90-day waiting period, if I'm not mistaken, that you have to
45.
between each loan. So
Yeah,
you
it's a
take out
45 day.
750 on the first loan, you're done. That's it.
Yeah, so just to recap, because I know we're all saying similar things, but it's so between loans for one borrower, Scott is exactly right. It's a max of 750 all inclusive. No matter how many loans, how many properties they do with Figure, they can borrow up to 750 it in full, regardless of how many properties. We're going to talk about possibly a strategy there, but if they're going to do 400,000 on one and then go do 300,000 on another, that's a 45-day waiting period between transactions. 90 days is the seasoning rule for title ownership. So it's 45 days between transactions. Now, what if you have a married borrower and they're in a community property and homestead state? You could do a loan for Mr. Smith on the primary, and you could do a loan for Mrs. Smith on the secondary or investment. And that would be your workaround, if you will.
All right. This
I was
is
gonna say non-owner occupied is up to 400,000, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
This isn't so much a question from Derek, it's more like a testimonial, so we appreciate this. Because the borrower experience is different from the LO side, what helped me understand the platform better was to apply myself and go through the process. The offer was so good, I ended up taking the loan and was able to complete the entire process. It's given me the opportunity to walk clients through their end if they need assistance. Great experience with the entire process. So,
Well, number one, Derek, we truly appreciate that feedback. And also, I want to encourage you to, again, go into the Resource Center. The very first thing you'll see when you go in there is a borrower workflow video. It's the one that Alex brought up briefly at the beginning of this call. Don't be afraid to share that with your borrowers. It is designed to be client facing, and it's a great way to show that borrower workflow to set the expectation of the borrower. The other thing is for all of us as loan originators, watch it. Take the 3.5 minutes and watch that video and understand the workflow of your borrower. Now, in your case, Derek, I'm glad you didn't do that and that you actually ended up and went and did a loan with us, and that's how you learned. So that's perfect. It's a win-win for everyone. But thank you for the feedback.
if using a business account, will we need a letter from the accountant stating that using the funds will not affect the functioning of the company?
We will not.
Don't overcomplicate this.
We don't have underwriters. There's nobody to
We don't
look at.
Yeah.
We don't have anyone to review it.
There's
That's
no one to
exactly
read the
right.
letter. Yeah. If a borrower links both years' tax returns together, does the system take the average? Would the system know to only consider last year's returns if the income was more favorable in last year than on a 2-year average?
So it's going to be the 2-year average, and I want to make this clear. This is only for self-employed borrowers and only if they choose to do so. So it's only if it's going to be favorable for them. This is on their determination and maybe something you could talk to them about. We in the past did not do this. In fact, I don't think we did it a couple months ago. This is something that's new.
No, it's new.
Yeah, we opened this up because some borrowers, it works better for them, and we wanted to do that. For full-time and a majority of borrowers, it is their most recent tax year. And I want to be clear about this too. They have to have filed their most recent tax year. If they filed an extension, they can't link taxes. They'll have to try another method.
All right. Can we gross up retirement income?
No, unless they get
I-
regular deposits in a bank account.
This is also from Derek, who went through the process. Said the only issue I had was when the system went to pay off the liabilities I selected, it had some trouble. Received an email stating they could not pay certain liabilities and the funds would be put into his bank account, and he had to pay them. Because of the due dates, paid them before the additional funds hit the account, only to find out a few days later that Figure did make those payments, causing the accounts to be paid in full twice.
And then he had to wait
That's
for a refund from said vendor, right?
surprising.
Yeah, actually, the good news is we don't hear of that happening a lot. But I have seen some disconnect there, and by the way, just so everyone knows, there's a third party company involved, and so there's a few moving parts here. Right, we're identifying the debts to pay off. We then have a third party that's actually facilitating the payoff, and so on and so forth. So there again can be some hiccups in there, but it typically all gets worked out in the end, and it's not real common either. It works pretty well for the most part.
Right. Let's see. Can we have anyone do a fixed HELOC nationwide? And if not licensed in that state, are they just paid a lower comp?
You do need to be licensed in that state as a loan originator and your brokerage or company where your license is hung as well. So there's no path that I'm aware of for non-licensed activity in that regard.
Actually, and I want to correct you on this, Tim, I'm going to change that around. Check with your company. Reason being, we do have some partners where they do have more or less a system in place for referral, where it's going to go to a default LO of the state.
Right.
So check internally, see how they have it set up. A majority of our systems in the inquiry tool, if you're Figure wholesale, you have to be licensed in that state, but I would check with your admin on those details.
Good point.
All right. If the spouse is not working, how should they classify their employment? For example, if they're a stay-at-home parent, stay-at-home mom, again, the husband brings in the income, wife has the higher score.
There's no way for me to answer that question. I mean, this is just whatever the borrower is indicating. And if they indicate they're, again, who's going to be the primary borrower, if they're telling you they're unemployed, then
we do not lend to unemployed individuals.
That's correct.
Is always my answer. We do a verification of employment on the back end. Keep that in mind as well. Those are usually my go-to answers. So talk to the borrower about it.
Can we use asset depletion?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. And one caveat, they have to be able to link said asset account through the Plaid system. Again, there's no way to upload bank statements as there's no one to review them to give asset depletion income. But if they can link it to Plaid, we'll do it.
All right. And last one, I mean, it's about, debt payoff. Why am I not able to get debt payoff option to make DTI qualify?
That could be a partner level thing. Reach out to the team post call. Mike, keep an eye open for it, of course, but not all of our partners have that feature turned on. It is turned on for wholesale across the board. So.
All right. We got to the end. Nope, we didn't. Sorry. Can we omit non-mortgage debts paid by others?
No. No ability to do that.
Okay. Regarding
Now,
asset depletion,
go
what
ahead.
term is used? 60 months, 72 months?
I actually don't know the answer to that. I will tell you that I've looked at the asset depletion income calculation deep in the underwriting guidelines. And honestly, I felt like I was going to need to be a math professor to define it and decipher it. So I've kind of stayed away from it. I will say that with asset depletion, what we have seen is, let's say a borrower's using asset depletion to qualify. Well, all of a sudden they had a 30-year offer at point of inquiry, but now all of a sudden the only offer they have is a 10-year loan. Well, the reason is the system has calculated that that's the amount of time the assets are going to last. So it doesn't give them the offer for the 30-year anymore. So I love that we do it. It's not often the way to go only. You know what I mean? Like asset depletion, unless someone's really asset rich.
Yeah.
All right. And the borrower paid off his credit cards prior to running the offer, but it still came up. How long should we wait to rerun and have it not show up in the credit card balances?
If there's any way for you to look at and confirm at a bureau level with the borrower, you know what I mean? If they paid off credit cards last week and you're running an inquiry this week, probably still going to show the liabilities, right? So it's just really going to depend on how long it takes for that creditor to be accurately reporting the status of that account, because we have no way to modify.
Experian 9, which we
That-
used, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
there's no
what
way for us to force it or challenge it or whatever. When we connect to Experian on that for that FICO 9 score, whatever that data comes back at, that's what we're going to live with.
Alrighty, folks, that is all the questions here. This is something where I'm going to be sending out an email with a whole bunch of information that is going to include links to our YouTube, where I'm going to be hosting a recording of this session. On top of that, you're going to have our Success Center. You're going to have links to sign up to our newsletter, as well as you're going to have our email in case you want to reach us. As a reminder, we help with everything: sales advice, strategy, you can schedule time with us. The only thing we don't help with are file questions that would go into the Ops Center via the customer service line, or some of you will have more direct methods. So keep in mind here, next 2 weeks, we're going to do another webinar, right? So we'll send out comms about what that's going to be about. And as always, have a great Halloween and let us know if you need anything. With that,
Yeah.
have a great one.
See you, everybody.
Take care.